What's up, guys? It's the Bluebloods, and we are back. We are starting our bowl season breakdown. These are just going to be a series of episodes where we preview different bowl games. We might be recapping and previewing. We might just be previewing. You'll never know. We're going to let y'all know here. Right today, we're going to be previewing the next 5 bowl games up on the slate of bowl games. We've had some cancellations. We've had some teams opt out. Some teams that shouldn't have been in bowl games that finally opted out. Thank God. No one wanted to see a 2-8 South Carolina team do anything. Let's be completely honest. We're going to start with those 5 bowl games, but we're going to wrap it up with storylines. Auburn finally found their Gus Malzahn replacement out in Boise, Idaho. So we're going to break down whether that was a good, bad, or just a, all right, I guess that's okay hire. And then to wrap it up, we're going to list our Heisman finalists, the 3 people we think should be invited to New York for the Heisman. And we're going to give our breakdown of the odds we give to each candidate. And I think you guys are going to be surprised of who the betting odds favor right now. But we have a full show today, guys. So let's go ahead and kick it off. So we're going to start with the New Mexico Bowl. And Brandon, this game is in Frisco, Texas. It's not even in New Mexico because of COVID, because New Mexico will not allow this bowl game to actually be there. They should have changed the name, in my opinion. But we got the New Mexico Bowl, the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors and the Houston Cougars, 4-4 versus 3-4. Brandon, 2:30 tomorrow on Christmas Eve. Who do you have and why?
Yeah, so it's just a classic bowl game matchup. The New Mexico Bowl being played in Texas. I guess every bowl game is just moving to Texas now because the Rose Bowl is going to be in Dallas for some reason. I don't know who we got to talk to. I understand that California has their restrictions. I didn't realize that the COVID outbreak was so rampant in New Mexico, though. That seems odd to me.
I didn't even know enough people lived in New Mexico to actually be that affected.
That's what I'm saying. Like, how big was this breakout? Did like 6 of their 7 citizens catch it, or something? I'm not positive. But Zach, what I will say about this matchup is that I think there's a clear-cut winner in this one, really. I mean, and Houston hasn't been super dominant over the past, 2-3 seasons now. I mean, there's a time and place when Houston was really good, and they even made it to a New Year's Six Bowl a few years back. It's not the same team, but I still feel like this Houston team is going to be so much better than Hawaii, and that's not just because Hawaii is not playing on the island. This Houston team to me has been very impressive. Their quarterback, Clayton Tune is his name. He's passed for nearly 2,000 yards this season. That's 13 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And Houston's quarterback is, on the stat sheet, pretty similar, except for he can actually move his legs. He can actually run. He's very mobile. But this Houston team to me just seems so much more put together. And I know that I'm not giving you a whole lot of good stats right now. That's what Zach's for. Everyone who listens to this podcast knows that I'm just going to give you like my gut feeling, who I think should win. And then Zach's going to be like, well, actually, according to Pro Football Focus, and whatever. But Houston's going to win this game. If you need to put a bet down on this one, take Houston minus 10.5. I think that'll hit for sure.
Yeah, the line's 10.5 right now. I think that's it started out at 7, Brandon. It just keeps getting higher, and I don't know exactly. I mean, yes, Houston should be the favorite, but man, that line to move almost 4 points that quickly is pretty outstanding. I mean, they have to be seeing something that they're not liking here. And let's be honest, the AAC is a little bit better than the Mountain West, Brandon. I think we can safely say that outside of San Jose and maybe Boise State, the Mountain West does not give us much. The AAC had a team in the top 10 this year.
Right.
It shows the depth of that conference. I mean, like you said, I like Tune as a quarterback. I know we gave him a lot of flack early in the season because a lot of people didn't expect a lot from him, but he is looking to continue the long line of quarterbacks that have come out of Houston. Like you said, the kid can do it with his legs. He could do it through the air, and it's hard to compare stats because everyone played so many different games this year. And, what's at stake here, though, Brandon? The Cougars are trying to avoid consecutive losing seasons for the first time since 2000.
Yeah.
And it's really that's real bad. I mean, Hawaii also has a dual threat. I mean, he's thrown for almost 2,000 yards, 11 touchdowns, and uh, the thing to watch here, Brandon. Houston's only played one game in the past 5 weeks.
Right. Right.
And we have seen so many teams struggle after being off so long. But their one game was against Memphis, Brandon, and they held that offense down. They held them to 30 points. They held them to way below their averages in points, yards, yards through the air, yards on the ground. They played really good defense. And you look at Houston's losses, Brandon, you look at 3 and 4. Their losses are to BYU, UCF, Cincinnati, and Memphis, and 3 of those were on the road.
Right, right. And what I also want to point out while we're talking about losses on the road, Hawaii's only played 3 road games this season. They won the first one against Fresno, but they lost the other 2 to Wyoming 31-7 and San Diego State 34-10. I'm going to keep beating this in your brains, people. Hawaii's not good on the road.
No, and they're also not good at home. They lost to San Jose State and Boise State at home this year.
I mean, yeah, but that was the conference championship. Like, those were the 2 best teams in that conference.
That's fair enough. That's fair enough. I mean, they look competitive against Boise State, not really so much against San Jose State. But, breaking down these 2 teams, looking at everything, Brandon, I think it's fairly safe to say Houston's going to win this. Neither defense is very consistent, both giving up over 400 yards per game. So I actually think it's going to be closer than the spread suggests. I have Houston 35-27 over the Rainbow Warriors tomorrow at 2:30 for some reason in Texas in the New Mexico Bowl.
I feel like this is going to be a repeat for Hawaii. Same score and everything as the San Jose State game. I'm going with Houston 35, Hawaii 24.
I like that. I like that score. But guys, the next bowl, the Camilla Bowl. I'm actually a fan of this bowl. It's in Montgomery, Alabama, in the Crampton Bowl. We have Marshall versus Buffalo, Brandon. And I'm so excited for this game because we finally get to see Jaret Patterson. So what are your thoughts on this game, and who do you have here?
I'm not excited for it, Zach, because I don't think it's going to be a good game. I think Buffalo is going to destroy Marshall because Marshall has been on the hottest 2-game losing streak of all time. And they've lost to, I get it, UAB is a good team, but Rice is simply not a good team, and they got shut out. I don't know what's going on with them. Yeah. And I know that Buffalo got beat by Ball State, and we had a big swing and a miss on that one in our conference championship weekend preview because Ball State is just not a good team either. But Buffalo, I mean, they have a Jaret Patterson, and that's really all that matters to me. And that Marshall is just, I don't know if they're allowed to win football games anymore.
I mean, you're looking at a 5-1 team versus a 7-2 team here. For some reason, they're making these teams play on Christmas, which should be illegal. The quarterback battle, I'm really not too interested in. Grant Wells is really good, but I don't think he's, as you've seen these past 2 weeks, he can't really carry an offense by himself. Kyle Van Treese just specializes in giving Jaret Patterson the ball. That's the only reason you should watch this game. At lunch for Christmas, turn on this game, ESPN, 1:30 p.m. Central Time, and watch Jaret Patterson go to work. This kid, Brandon, is second in rushing touchdowns, tied with Barisi Hall, only I think 3 touchdowns behind Najee Harris for the most rushing touchdowns in a season, and he's played 6 games. No, 5, because he was out last game. So 5 games.
Yeah. Look, the only thing I will say, I will give Marshall credit on this, Zach, is that their rushing defense is actually
pretty good.
That's like the one redeeming quality about Marshall. And they're a good team. Don't let me talk that bad about them. Their defense is really, really good. Their defense as a whole is good, but their rushing defense is incredible. And I don't know if they can stop Jaret Patterson, they'll win this, or they'll keep this game close. I don't know if they'll win this game. They'll keep this game closer though. But man, if their defense is having an off day, if they decide they're going to let up more points than they have all season, and what's the most points they've let up this season? Because from what I'm seeing, it looks like 17 is the most that they've let up all season.
Marshall,
that's nuts. Yeah.
No, I mean they gave up 20. They gave up 22 to UAB last week.
Right. They lost 22, and they lost. Yeah, so the defense has been slipping, guys. You hear that? So the most they let up before these last two losses was 17. Then they let up 20 against Rice and 22 against UAB. Jaret Patterson's probably going to score 4 touchdowns by himself.
You see, that's the reason I think Buffalo could run away with this one, Brandon, is Marshall's defense has been keeping them in games because their offense is not very efficient against high-level talent. I mean, 20 against FAU, 13 against UAB. Like you said, nothing against Rice. What's going to happen when Buffalo can control the ball and move the ball? They have not faced a running back the caliber of Jaret Patterson yet. I think he's going to eat, man. He has almost 1,100 yards rushing in 5 games. He has almost as many rushing yards as his quarterback has passing, Brandon.
That shouldn't be legal. What also shouldn't be legal is that he has 19 touchdowns in 6 games. And I get it, 8 of those came in 1 game, but still, like 19 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns in like a regular season is good, let alone 6 games.
And he's only been in 5 because he missed last game because of COVID.
That's why they lost, you know? He would have been in, they would have smacked Ball State.
I mean, Jaret Patterson, he's going to eat this weekend. Brandon, I think this one's going to be more of a shootout type game, but I have Buffalo pulling away late. I have Buffalo 49-28, definitely smashing that 4.5 point spread they have.
You think, wow, you really think Marshall's defense is going to go at 49 points?
Yes. I mean, you look at Buffalo, and their lowest margin was 28 last week against Ball State. They scored 42, 70, 56. This offense could put up points. They're averaging almost 50 points a game this year.
Okay, you talked me into it. Buffalo 42, Marshall 24.
You said, I'm just going to go like 3 points off his score, and I can't lose. But, guys, to move on here, we have the First Responders Bowl, also in Texas, in Dallas, Texas this time, Ford Stadium. And we have the Louisiana Lafayette Ragin' Cajuns facing the UTSA Roadrunners. In case you guys don't know what UTSA means, University of Texas San Antonio. And, Brandon, this is a 13.5 point spread, and I don't know if it's that close.
It can't be, right? And I get it. UL, they win games, but they don't win games by a lot unless they're playing against South Alabama or Louisiana Monroe. But this is Texas San Antonio. We're not talking about a good team here. We're talking about a Conference USA team that benefited from a Conference USA only schedule and went 7-4. And that's not to say that a Sun Belt schedule is a lot harder than that. But I think it's a little harder than that. I mean, there's some quality teams in the Sun Belt. I mean, we have Louisiana Lafayette. We have Appalachian State. We have Troy's usually pretty good.
Coastal Carolina.
Well, forget about that. That's their only loss, and they lost to Coastal Carolina by 3 points. So Louisiana Lafayette, I mean, they've got a shot here. And look, everyone knows I'm the biggest Raging Cajuns fan on this podcast. So I'm wearing my UL hat as we speak. I'm going with Louisiana Lafayette. I don't think I need to provide a reason either. But if I did need to provide a reason, I'd go with Levi Lewis. I mean, this kid's special. And you know he's special, Zach. I don't know. He probably won't make a shot at the NFL. I mean, he's a senior. He might take his one more year at UL. But, I mean, this kid has impressed me this season for sure.
And I think this Cajun team is going to be very motivated. We just came off – we're going to break it down later, but they just came off their head coach turning down the Auburn head coaching job to stay. I mean, these kids are going to play. No one's opting out. You know, Billy Napier is going to have these kids ready to go. UTSA, they've been good. Their best player, in my opinion, personally, is Sincere McCormick. That is, yes, Sincere. And he's their starting running back. He has 1,300 yards rushing, 11 touchdowns. He's been there almost their entire offense. Their passing game is mediocre at best. I mean, only 1,400 yards passing this year behind Frank Harris. Levi Lewis is the better quarterback. And I really do like Elijah Mitchell. I want to see him show up this game because they're going to have to match McCormick on the other side running the ball to win this game. I need to see the same Louisiana Lafayette defense, Brandon, that I saw week 1 against Iowa State. They shut down Barisi Hall. There was one of the only games Barisi Hall didn't run for 100 yards. They're going to have to keep McCormick. They have to limit him. They might not hold him under 50 or anything crazy like that, but just keep him from 100. Let him get 75, 80. Let him not establish a rhythm. Hold him under 5 yards a carry. And Louisiana Lafayette is going to run away with this game. Levi Lewis is clutch, like you said. And even if UTSA makes this a game, Brandon, I am not confident in more confident in any other team in the country in winning close games than I am this Raging Cajuns team, because they do it because they have confidence behind them in Napier. And I think this team is ready for whatever the Roadrunners throw at them.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And look, this isn't only, they're motivated by their head coach that hasn't taken another job. He's turned down several jobs. I mean, I don't know if he's going to stay at UL, but it looks like he's pretty committed to this team right now. And also, I mean, they're coming off of a canceled conference championship game, that rematch against Coastal Carolina. And we all saw Billy Napier's comments where he was saying that they wanted to play somebody. He's like, can we do something? Like we're just going to cancel it. We're not going to play. We're not going to get this rematch. I mean, that had to fire this team up, right? And so they're probably going into this game, into this bowl game, like looking to prove something. Like they're about to go off.
Because they canceled it, they should have let them play. Like this game's the 26th. Coastal Carolina plays coming up. Let them play. Let them play in early January.
Here's something I thought about, and it's just my dumb brain at work. It's what it does. I think it was today at work. I was just like, what can I talk about on the podcast? And this is what it was. I said, you know what? It was the Sun Belt Conference Championship got canceled because Coastal Carolina had COVID. And then Washington had to cancel because they had COVID. Let's let USC and UL play because UL wins that game 9 times out of 10.
Oh, you're going to disrespect your boy Keaton like that?
I love Keaton, but come on.
The Raging Cajuns.
Let's go.
Listen, I think the Raging Cajuns have the better defense, the better coach, the better offense, the better quarterback. And when you have all those factors working in your favor, I think you're going to win the game 9 times out of 10. I have the Raging Cajuns, Brandon, 35-20 on the 26th over the Roadrunners.
You stole a score that was very close to mine, so I'm about to switch mine up a little bit. I had UL scoring 35 as well.
That's good. Roll with it.
Okay. 35-14 UL.
I like it. Guys, we're moving on to the Lending Tree Bowl in our hometown, Mobile, Alabama, Ladd Peebles Stadium. Brandon, they moved this game to 2:30, which is probably safer for everybody. I'm actually kind of interested in this game. This was the hardest game I think I've had to pick, Brandon, out of all the bowl games we've covered right now. We have a 5-6 Western Kentucky team and a 5-4 Georgia State team. And right now the spread is 3.5 Georgia State. Who do you have and why here?
Now, it's funny that you say that it took you forever to choose this game because I'm still just baffled. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to think because these teams, they're like the polar opposite of each other because while you have one team who has just a really, really good offense and it looks like no defense in Georgia State, and then you have the exact opposite or in Western Kentucky where they just don't have an offense and they cannot move the ball whatsoever. But they're holding teams to 330 yards a game total. So, I don't know what to think.
It's the worst game of all time. You have a terrible offense versus a really, really bad defense and a decent offense against a pretty decent defense. And it's like, which is going to give?
Right. That's exactly like it doesn't make a lot of sense. What I will say is that Georgia State definitely could have benefited by a better running game in this one. Because it just that's the one hole in Western Kentucky, in Western Kentucky's defense. It just seems like they can't stop the run. I mean, they're allowing 100. What are they? They're allowing 166 yards on the ground a game. That's pitiful. That's terrible. But their pass defense is so good. It doesn't make sense. Like they're only allowing 170 yards through the air a game. How are you allowing the same amount of rushing yards as you are passing yards? That doesn't make sense to me.
The worst part is the leading receiver for Western Kentucky has 1 touchdown. Xavier Lane. He has 1 touchdown on the year.
They spread the ball out, man. Apparently.
That's tough, right? I mean, you got one
Well,
touchdown for your.
it's not like that's good either. Like he has 376 yards on the year, but he has 34 receptions. So he has like 10 yards a catch. That's not good. So
You
where
know,
are the other passes going?
I I
Like
I
behind
don't
the line of scrimmage?
I don't know. I mean, and
Yeah.
the worst part is like neither of these teams are good, but both ended on win streaks. Georgia State won 3 of its last 4 games. Western Kentucky 3 straight wins to end the season. It's like, where do you go here? I mean, you got to look at players. Cornelius Brown the fourth. He's a redshirt freshman quarterback for Georgia State. He's second in the Sun Belt in passing yards and total offense. Has 14 touchdowns through the air and 7 on the ground. Then you got D'Angelo Malone for Western Kentucky, who's the defending CUSA Defensive Player of the Year. Brandon,
Right.
there's
Right.
so much to break down here, and the reason I'm going to stick with Georgia State here, Brandon, is because their defense over the last few games has only allowed about 18 points per game. That
Oh,
includes South Alabama, that was putting up major points. And they played at South Alabama, so they've been to Mobile before this year. They played at App State and held that team to 17 points. Their only embarrassing loss was to Coastal Carolina, which they lost 51-0. I'm not going to blame them there.
yeah.
That same defense made Zach Wilson look like a bum, and we saw what Zach Wilson did last night to UCF.
Right. Well, we didn't have to talk about that, but
We're going to talk about it. It's not on this episode. And Western Kentucky, 41-10 against BYU, and Brandon, they muster 6 points against FAU and 10 points against Southern Miss.
which is just, I mean, if that's not a testament to your offense, then I don't know what is. So that's all. If you can only put up 10 against Southern Miss, then I'm sorry. Like that, you don't have an offense. You need to fire your OC. I don't know who he is, but fire him immediately.
It's a bad look, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, there's a couple LSU coaches on the market now, so might be able to catch one of them.
So I got a low scoring game here, Brandon. I have a theory. Western Kentucky's not going to get to 20. I have a lot more confidence in Georgia State getting to 20. I have Georgia State 21, Western Kentucky 13 down in Mobile this weekend.
I'll go with Georgia State as well, 28-10. I don't think Western Kentucky scores at all. Also,
Yeah.
Zach, this game is being played in Ladd at Ladd People Stadium in Mobile, where there is a brand new stadium like 20 minutes away. Like why are we playing there?
You know Mobile politics, bro. You know Mobile politics.
Do we know where the Senior Bowl is going to be at this year yet? Because
I think it's at South Stadium. I think it's at South Stadium, if I'm not mistaken.
Also, we need to get credentials. I already put in my application, but if you're listening, if anyone on the Senior Bowl board is listening, go ahead and put those through for me and my boy Zach.
Y'all heard it here first. But we got one more bowl game to preview, guys. And this is the best bowl game of the year so far. Liberty Coastal Carolina, the Cure Bowl, which is a terrible name. In Camping World Stadium, Orlando, Florida, Brandon. Right now, the Chanticleers are 7.5-point favorites. Who do you have in this really, really good matchup?
So this was actually a really hard one for me to pick. I mean, for obvious reasons. We have Coastal Carolina, who's 11-0. They'd probably be 11-1 if they wouldn't have caught COVID last week or whatever. But and then we have Liberty, who's 9-1. I mean, Liberty has been putting on a show this season too. I mean, the only loss was to NC State. It was a 1-point loss. I don't know how they dropped the game to NC State. I don't know if they were it's not like they were overlooking it or anything. I mean, the week after that, they had UMass. I mean, they had Massachusetts Amherst. Like, who was looking forward to that game? That's the worst team in Division I football. And that's not an exaggeration. They are the actual. They haven't won a game in like 3 years, I don't think.
That's tough.
And so, I don't know where Liberty's head was at there. Hugh Freeze wasn't even in the hospital bed, so I don't get it. But I think I'm going to have to go with Coastal Carolina here, just because that's kind of what I'm rooting for, Zach. I always root for a team that is going to be able to claim a national championship once the season's done. So if they win this game, I mean, would you put it past Coastal Carolina, the Mullets, to claim a national championship after this season?
On the contrary, I think they should.
I just said they should. I'm rooting for that.
Yeah, I think they should completely claim a natty.
Yeah, I mean
I would
that's
love
what
it.
I mean. That's where I'm putting my money. Them and Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati should claim one too.
We just have anyone who went undefeated this year, San Jose State, claim your natty. Pull up
Look,
to the window, turn in your ticket, and get your natty.
if there's a year to have more than one national championship champion, I'm talking like what was the LSU team? Was it '03 LSU that shared it with USC, and then it
Yeah.
was '97 Michigan and Tennessee, I think. Like we need another shared national title. We're long past due.
You see, I think I don't even know if we should share it. I think Coastal Carolina should play Alabama for it.
Okay,
Or
I'm
Clemson,
down for
whoever
that.
wins it. Just
Let's,
if you want to claim a natty, you got to go through the tournament.
no, I wanted to be Coastal Carolina because I need Coastal Carolina to like challenge Alabama after the season, just like meet them in the backyard and duke it out. That's what I want.
Well,
Like no
do,
pads, no nothing.
do you know the chaos that would ensue if Coastal Carolina beat Alabama?
I mean, just the whole state of Alabama is put on suicide watch.
That might be the only way to get Nick Saban fired. We need this to happen, Coastal Carolina. Do not let us down. As an
Yes,
Auburn
please.
fan, I need this to happen. But I'm also going with Coastal Carolina here, Brandon. And it really boiled down to who has let me down this year and who hasn't. I've picked Coastal Carolina every time they've been on the podcast ever. They've always won. I picked Liberty. You decided to miss an extra point to lose to NC State, so you cannot be trusted.
That was tough.
Plus, Grayson McCall is one. I think. Could you say he was the best true freshman quarterback in the country this year?
If he wasn't, then he was close because and like no one else comes to mind, so probably or Max Johnson. Max Johnson's I'm going with.
Yeah, he had an all right one, I guess, but he
No,
didn't start.
it was
He
no,
didn't
it was
start
McCall.
though till like
It was McCall for sure. Like
yeah. I mean, 23 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, Brandon, over 2,100 yards passing. And my X factor, Brandon, is Marable, the running back for Coastal Carolina. Every big game, CJ Marable shows up big time. He had a big game against BYU. He's had big games against Appalachian State. He really helped this team squeak by Troy a few weeks ago. And I also think both of these defenses put up respectable stats. They're both allowing about 18, 19 points a game, both allowing about 300 to 350. I think Coastal Carolina's defense steps up here. I know Hugh Freeze is a great coach. I know Malik Willis has been balling, but I don't know about you, Brandon. The shine has just been washed off of Liberty for me.
yeah, I agree with you, Zach. I mean, not only have they lost their shine, I feel like this team's at a disadvantage just because they're so one dimensional. I mean, Malik Willis is this team. I mean, as far as he goes, is as far as Liberty's like as far as he takes Liberty is as far as they're going to go. Because I mean, he's doing it all through the air on his feet. I mean, he has as many rushing yards as like most running backs do. That's weird. It's weird that he only has like 40 less yards than CJ Marable at this point in the season, and he's played one less game. You give him one more game and he's beat him out. He's averaging more yards to carry than CJ Marable, and
Yeah.
so I mean, and you have to take into account like his numbers. That includes sacks. Like we're not. This isn't just like he's taking the ball and he's running forward like a running back. Maybe he'll lose 1 or 2 yards. We're talking about sacks where he loses 7 yards. Like it includes that. That's how dangerous this guy is. But I think Coastal Carolina team is good enough to where they can study up for him, and they can take him out of the game. You know, I don't know if you can say that about the rest of Liberty's schedule, just because Liberty's been playing teams that are allowed to play independent teams. You know, so they're
Yeah.
playing the Conference USA's. They're playing UMass, who's another independent. I mean, they're playing the ACC, which is good and all, but I mean, they're also playing Western Carolina. So I think they benefited from a fairly weak schedule.
Yeah, and the fact that Liberty gave up 35 points to teams like Southern Miss is a problem.
That's bad. That's real bad.
That's a
How do you do
problem. Coastal Carolina, it just has that feel, Brandon, that like they can't be beating. Like it's almost like a team a year. So like 2013, Brandon, there was not like other than that after that LSU game in early September when that team was still young, throughout the year, it almost seemed like that 2010 and 2013 Auburn team, there was almost like there's no way they could lose, right? After the prayer, Jordan Hare, like, how does this even happen? And I felt that way about LSU last year. Honestly, I feel like there's a team every year where you're like, man, how does that team get beaten? And I feel that way about Coastal Carolina. So I got Coastal Carolina here, Brandon. I have Coastal Carolina 45-35 over Liberty down in Florida in the Cure Bowl.
Yeah, I had a fairly similar score. I don't think Coastal Carolina covers the 7.5-point spread. I'm going with Coastal Carolina 41, Liberty 35. What I don't understand though is how the over under is at 59.5 for this game.
Yeah, smash that. There's no way they don't hit that.
Absolutely.
But guys, that wraps up our, I guess, bowl preview segment here. We can't really call it pick six, but bowl preview segment. But guys, we got two storylines to wrap up the episode with. We're going to start with Auburn. They finally found their Gus Malzahn replacement, Brandon, out in Boise, Idaho. It was an unconventional hire, and it shocked experts across the country because no one even was mentioning this dude interviewing for the job. And it came out of nowhere, came just in the middle of the night. It was broke by a Yahoo sports reporter, Brandon, not even 247 Auburn reporters, not from ESPN, not from Paul Feinbaum. A Yahoo national sports reporter broke this news. And so I don't know how it happened, but what do you think about the Harsin hire, and what grade would you give it overall?
Yeah, so I don't really know about this hire, Zach, and I'm not trying to be like any kind of way about it. I mean, I know he's been at Boise State. I know he's a good head coach and all, but I didn't really realize that he was. I don't know how to put. I didn't know he was on the market. Like I didn't know he was like going to have a new job after this season. I didn't think he was done at Boise State. As a matter of fact, I had to like as soon as I saw the headlines like Auburn hires Harsin, I was like, okay, where was he at? Like what school was he coaching at? And he was at Boise State, obviously. And I mean, I'd heard his name before. It's not that bad. It's not like he's a no name. I mean, he's a good head coach, and he was at Boise State for some of their better seasons. It just kind of came as a shock. I mean, you hardly ever see an SEC hire with like no SEC connection whatsoever.
Yeah. I mean, you really don't. And his closest thing he got, this is funny, Brandon. He was the head coach at Arkansas State. He was Arkansas State's hire after Malzahn left for Auburn.
That is, he's just going to follow. He's just going to follow him around forever.
Yeah, and the closest he came to his Southern ties is he was the offensive coordinator for Texas for a year or two. Okay. But he was the offensive coordinator when Boise State won the Fiesta Bowl. He was the offensive coordinator that called the Statue of Liberty play.
Yeah.
And the reverse crossing route, and he was the head coach when they won the Fiesta Bowl in 2014. He's a winner. I mean, he's won everywhere he's been, Brandon. I mean, he was 69-19 at Boise State. Nice. He won 3 Mountain West championships. He won his division 5 times. In his career, he's 76-24 as a head coach. He won the Sun Belt Championship his 1 year at Arkansas State. And, you know, the thing that gets me, Brandon, you know, at first I was like you. I mean, I've heard of this dude's name, but he was never rumored to be in connection with the job. It was just kind of out of nowhere. We all heard the, you know, names, Hugh Freeze, Brent Venables, Billy Napier, all these dudes with SEC or Southern ties. And here comes this dude that was born in Boise, Idaho, played football out there, coached out there, and never had an SEC connection at all. And I see Bama fans, especially Bama fans, as we all could imagine, laughing like, "Oh my God, how could you hire this dude?" I just want to know, Brandon, could you give me one tangible critique of this hire?
I guess my only real critique is that he's never coached in the Power Five. Like that's to me, or not. Well, he's coached in the Power Five. He's never been a head coach in the Power Five. That's my critique.
Yeah.
I mean, and I guess like if I'm going to step into the mind of someone who's going to be critical about this, maybe that he's 69. I mean, 69-16 is a great record. That's incredible. That is so good. But at Boise State in the Mountain West, I mean, we just got done trashing the Mountain West. So I don't know. I mean, we can't expect him to be undefeated, though. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and even Chris Peterson wasn't undefeated at,
Right.
Boise State. I mean, and, I found the three main critiques, Brandon. One is, like you kind of mentioned, it's not an SEC blue blood. You see it every year, Brandon. Where did Ole Miss go? Lane Kiffin. He's been in the SEC for years and years. We saw Jeremy Pruitt get hired at Tennessee for years and years. We saw Florida, Dan Mullen and Jim McElwain in the SEC for years and years. Like, everyone always sticks with these Southern ties. I mean, even Mike Leach had some coaching experience down south. Nobody ever hires outside the box. And so my response to that one critique is, why don't we see how it works out first? I mean, because apparently it's not working out for Tennessee. It didn't work out for Florida for the longest time. It didn't work out for Georgia for the longest time. It definitely didn't work out for Ole Miss at points. I mean, yes, Hugh Freeze would have been a great hire, but my thing is, Brandon, Hugh Freeze is exactly the hire that everyone thought Auburn would do.
Right.
So why not go outside the box? You thought inside the box when you hired Malzahn in the first place. You definitely thought inside the box when you hired Gene Chizik.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I just called that outside the box. That was something else.
I mean, recruiting, another thing. I mean, I know it's the Mountain West, but you have to say this. Every year he's been a head coach, Brandon, he's had the number one recruiting class in his conference.
Yeah. I mean, you're right.
That's got to speak for something, because I mean, it's not easy to keep what Chris Peterson had at Boise State going for 7 years.
No, absolutely not.
And then the other thing is, it's not a splash hire. It's not Venables. It's really the main critique, right? I mean, it's not Venables. And it's like, I don't know if Venables would leave for any job right now. But at least you had to try.
That's true.
If you're not going to get Venables, the SEC clearly doesn't want Hugh Freeze back. I don't blame them at this point. They want him to serve his quote-unquote punishment out. Why does everyone think that there was anyone better out? Like, why does everyone say, like, oh, you had to go get Lane Kiffin? Oh, you had to do this. Is it relate back to the blue blood theory where it has to be someone from the SEC? It's like, it doesn't actually have to be. I think it was a change of pace hire, Brandon. And it's one Auburn needed. Auburn's been stuck in a rut since after Tuberville, where we went after Gene Chizik. He had Gus Malzahn. They got Cam Newton for 1 year. They got stuck with this no huddle, hurry up offense stuff, and it was like the same. It's just the same consistency, the same pace for years and years. So why not go with something new? And this brings me to the rumors I told you about earlier. I wanted to break on the podcast. A lot of people at 247. A lot of people are looking at 247 and stuff saying, like, why didn't y'all get this right? Harsin wasn't even on any of their hot boards. Why did all these Auburn beat writers get it wrong? And it's because everyone wants a hot story. Like, all these boosters and trustees were trying to undercut Alan Green, the AD, and say, oh, well, they're looking at Hugh Freeze. They're looking at Lane Kiffin to try to get him to do that.
Right.
To try to garner interest. Kevin Steele, Brandon, never got an interview.
Which is crazy to me. Like, that's the main thing I wanted to touch on. Like, why? Why didn't he get an interview?
You want to know why? He was 1-31 as a head coach, Brandon, at Baylor.
Okay, well,
fair enough. We could leave that one behind.
Yeah, let's not bring that
up. So he didn't get an interview. Brandon, Billy Napier got an interview, but never was formally offered the job.
Weird to me. I don't know.
Brent Venables had an interview. He had a kind of like a soft offer, but they just wanted to see his interest. He said no. They moved on. Brandon, the three list of actual candidates that interviewed and were interested were Billy Napier, Harsin, and Brent Venables, with Bill Clark from UAB being the fourth guy who they kind of guarded interest in, but he never had a formal interview.
Right.
Every single other person was a smokescreen set off by a booster that didn't know what they were talking about, that wasn't on the committee.
Yeah, I might start doing stuff like that, by the way.
I'm
going to start putting rumors out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, why not? They eat it up and it kind of brings in. This is why people don't trust, certain sports reporters and stuff like that. Like, it doesn't always have to be a debate or anything. Like, I listened to an interview after Harsin was hired on CBS Sports. Do you know what their tagline is on their YouTube channel? Like, after videos, you know how ESPN and Fox Sports and all them, they're like, tune in to to see this show, and this show. They always have plugs at the end of the YouTube videos now.
Yeah.
CBS Sports said, tune in here to hear real sports takes with stats and like instant analysis. He was like, "We're not here for the fake debates and like fake outrage." And I was
Right.
like, woo! I was like, I like CBS Sports right now. Like, it's like no one wants to report what's actually happening. They just all they heard was the coaching search was crazy. They were offering all these people jobs when in actuality, Alan Green, the AD, had his three candidates and he interviewed all three of them and got one of the ones he wanted.
Yeah, I mean good for him. If that's what he set out to do, that's great. I
I
mean,
don't. I don't know. See, so I'm going to give it a subjective grade because, like, the Auburn fan in me wants to say A, and they could have hired anybody, and I would have like found a way to spin it. But I'm gonna give this one a B plus, Brandon. I think that's fair. I think it's an out of the box hire. He's a winner. He's won everywhere. He can recruit. He's an offensive guy and you got a quarterback in Bo Nix that people are like, he's got one more year to develop or we're out on him. So get an offensive guy who has done it with multiple quarterbacks. Every single year at Boise State that he didn't have a quarterback injury, he had a 3,000-yard passer and a 1,000-yard rusher. That's what you
right.
got. You got to have that at Auburn. I give it a B plus because it could backfire, but I like the out of the box hire. The dude's a winner. The dude can recruit. The only thing he's missing is a big name. So I think a B plus is fair for now. And if he goes on to win, that's an A hire. But for right now, I think a B plus to a B is a safe grade to put on this.
See, I'm teetering between because I don't want. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and and I know I'm easily tricked. I know I'm easily talked into anything. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna speak for the rest of everybody, for the rest of the people that aren't Auburn
Okay.
fans, for everyone who doesn't know who Bryan Harsin is, and I'm gonna give this one a C, just
Okay.
because. I mean, that's an average hire. I'm not going to say it's a bad hire. I'm not going to give it like an F. I mean, I don't think it's the worst hire in the world.
It's not
Just because
hiring Brett Belima in Arkansas State.
yeah, no, it's not. It's definitely not that. Um, but I feel like the the Auburns of the world can hire big names, and I feel like if Auburn would have gone after a big name, like really and truly gone after the Hugh Freeze or the Lane Kiffin, they probably could have got him. But
Yeah.
they didn't. They set out, like you said, to these three coaches. They got one of them. I mean, so we know what this guy can do. I'm gonna give it a C.
I like that. Guys, this segment will be revisited. There's a coaching hire that happened today that I really want to break down, but Brandon's traveling right now, which is you kind of probably tell with the audio. There's a hire at Arizona that I thought was very, very interesting. I want to break down. That'll be on next episode. But guys, the last segment today, we're going to give y'all who are 3 Heisman finalists should be. The finalists are announced very soon. I think it's next week or something
Right.
like that. They're announcing the 3 finalists. So Brandon, who are your top 3 and your 4 and 5 spots that could be replacements? I think they're inviting 3, but they always move it around. So give me your top 3 with your 2 potential 4 and 5 participants and give me the odds on your quarterbacks right now. And I just want to say the latest Heisman odds, Brandon, have Devontae Smith as the favorite to win with Mac Jones at a plus 170 in second and a plus 1900 for Trask at third.
Isn't that crazy to you? I mean, that's nuts because Devontae Smith certainly is not going to win, even though he probably should. Like he's minus 170. That's crazy. You know
Yeah.
what's crazy to me is that in the odds, the top 5, we've got 3 Alabama players. Like, how insane is that?
That actually could work in Kyle Trask's favor.
Oh, I mean, no kidding. I mean, when they take votes away from each other, absolutely,
Yep.
it's going to work in his favor. And I don't mean to be chalk right now, but I feel like my rankings are pretty similar to what the odds are right now.
I picked this segment because it's something we had to cover, it's something we need to give our opinion on. But if our top 3 aren't the same, like I'm going to have a problem because I feel like there's 3 obvious people that have to be invited.
So let me give you my top 3 in order. I'm just going to run through them real quick. I'm not going to. I mean, we've broken them down on every single episode that we've had so far. So I'm going to give you my top 3 in order of who I realistically think will win this award. I'm going to go with in third place. I'm going to go with Devontae Smith. In second place, I'm going to go with Kyle Trask. In first place, I'm going with Mac Jones. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, really.
I like it. Who do you have any idea if they invite like 4 or 5 who they might invite?
Trevor Lawrence because he's like the best player in the history of college football. Maybe
That's
he's
true.
He's just a real. I mean, I'm not saying like he's performed the best in college football. I'm saying that he like legitimately is probably the best quarterback we've ever seen. He just
Yeah,
is.
I like that.
And probably I'd be hard pressed to think they invite 3 players from Alabama. Maybe Najee Harris. No,
Yeah.
I'll stick with Najee Harris.
Okay. You see, my 3 right now, I'll give my 5 in order. I think Najee Harris would be the 5th person they invited. I think they'd invite Trevor 4th if they went to 4, just because he has to be at least at a ceremony.
Right.
Yeah, he has never even been to a ceremony yet. Like, you got to invite him at least. At 3, I have Mac Jones in 3rd, Brandon. I think a lot of voters are going to contribute his success to Najee Harris and Devontae Smith.
Yeah.
I think that's going to take a lot of votes away from him. And so I really think Mac Jones is going to suffer because of that. And at 2, this is going to blow your mind. I have Kyle Trask, and at 1, I have Devontae Smith. I know that sounds stupid. That sounds insane. Hear me out. This has been a QB award for generations, Brandon. I get that. But I don't remember there's a year, even Desmond Howard's year, there's never been a year where more buzz around a wide receiver winning it has happened than this year.
That's true.
I mean, Devontae Smith for Heisman has started weeks ago, and the buzz was so loud after the SEC championship game, Brad. I mean, 15 catches was an SEC championship record, a Bama record. He had 2 touchdowns, almost had a punt return. If there was ever a wide receiver outside of Desmond Howard, and I did make the argument on the podcast, Randy Moss should have won it for Marshall. No one agreed with me, but y'all are wrong. That should have happened with his stats. Devontae Smith should win it. I mean, you look at Brennan, the conference championship weekend has always pretty much determined the winner of this award. We saw Kyler Murray take it from Tua on championship weekend a few years ago. We saw Joe Burrow eat up Georgia in the SEC championship. We saw Cam Newton set the SEC championship record at that time with his performance. Mac Jones had a good performance, but almost, I think it was 85% of his output was to Devontae Smith and Najee Harris.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, but to be fair, what is Kyle Trask's output to Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney?
I don't think it's as much as Devontae Smith and Najee Harris.
I don't know.
And I think the offensive, and I don't think Kyle Pitts is on the level of a Devontae Smith, and he definitely doesn't have a running back like Najee Harris.
No, I mean, you're right.
And God forbid you tailor in the first few weeks of Jalen Waddle being healthy.
Mechie's over here just laying dudes out.
Exactly. And then you got that offensive line. Which offensive line do you take in?
Alabama's.
Exactly. But guys, that is our Heisman finalist. That's our projected winner. The results won't be here for a while, so we'll get to that once they drop them. But that's a wrap on this episode. Brandon's traveling right now. I'm traveling next week, but we're still getting episodes out. We'll update y'all on the schedule soon. But guys, tune into all the bowl games. They're amazing. We don't have as many as this year. So all y'all that complained about the 37 bowl games, y'all are going to miss them this year. And I don't want y'all to come crying to us about it, because we told y'all were going to miss them. That Bad Boys Mowers Bowl is going to be in the back of your mind while you're eating your Christmas ham this year. Just know that. But guys, follow us on Instagram at @_Bluebloods, Twitter at @_Bluebloods, Facebook at the Bluebloods Pod, the Bluebloods CFB podcast on YouTube, the Bluebloods The BlueBloodsPod.com is our website. I got a little confused there. That was hard for me, B-Dub, but go follow us on everything. You can find the podcast anywhere. Like, rate, subscribe, everything to the podcast. Tell all your family members this Christmas to go listen to the Blue Bloods. Give them a Blue Bloods. Just put it on their phone for Christmas. That's all you got to get them. Don't even spend a dime. We're free. Add them to their Apple podcast or whatever on their phone for Christmas this year. But guys, y'all have a Merry Christmas, and we will be back very, very soon. But for right now, we're out.